Coming up, do you call your company? Business lessons from a picket fence, and love it or shove it. Pain-Free Mondays is back. Welcome to Pain-Free Mondays. I'm Ken Okel. Here's a question you may never have thought of. Have you called your company recently? You may be a leader in your organization, but do you know exactly what the customer goes through when they call your company? If not, and often when I have presentations, I ask people and they say, I haven't called in for years. You need to take those steps through your company's sales cycle, especially if you rely on the phone a lot for business, and let's face it, most of us do. So when someone calls you, what happens? More and more people have an automated system. I understand, saves money, but sometimes it can be a little squirrely. Here's one of the things that happens a lot. You call the system, and the message is way out of date. Now, it was current 5 years ago when you had someone say, our menu options have changed, please listen carefully. Well, if it's 5 years later, I think people know the menu or can figure it out. When you give people the prompts, are they able to, if they make a mistake, go back or just hit 0 for the operator? There's nothing worse than calling, listening to the menu options, and there isn't really one that fits what you need. Think of it sometimes like a trail through a field. Originally, you may have thought, oh, we need people to go here. But over time, you notice that people are actually walking over there. So think about, where do people need to go? Have those options be up there right away. They shouldn't have to listen through all the stuff that most people don't need to use. Now, it's very common when you call someone, you're going to be put on hold. And that usually means music. Now, I don't need to have the top 10 hits or anything like that, but if the music is just agonizing, it will raise your blood pressure over time, and you don't want that with your customers. Something to consider. Maybe you need to upgrade the music. With so many of these things, over time, the price goes down, so you might be able to upgrade for hardly any money. Final thing I want you to consider. When someone connects into your organization, reaches that person, are they sticking to the script that you have for them? You may have spent all this time devising the perfect script, the right answers to questions. You kind of have a tree where if someone asks this, then you respond with that. But maybe over time people got relaxed. They said, well, I don't have to follow that script so much. Suddenly, the branding you spent hours on is forgotten. You don't want that. So this gives you another opportunity by calling your company to make sure that portion of the sales process happens. Look, if there are two companies where everything is equal, but one's a lot more easier to call, get quick answers for, get the resources that you need, which are you going to go with? Think about it. Coming up, what business lessons can we learn from a picket fence? Find out.
The 2-Minute Takeaway Podcast, out new every Wednesday. Never miss an episode by subscribing through iTunes.
Recently I was walking outside and I came across a picket fence, and I noticed that one of the planks on the fence had fallen out. I'm a good Samaritan. So I pick up the little wooden piece and I try to pop it back into place with my hand, hammering it home. But then I noticed something. The nail that runs through the plank is barely longer than the plank itself, so it really can't hold things into place. Eventually I get everything back together, but I know that before long there'll be a storm or a strong breeze and that plank will fall out again. It's just not the right tool for the job. Let's go into your organization. You can have the same thing happen. Do you have employees who maybe aren't quite performing as well as you would like? Something just always seems to be lacking. Maybe they're like that nail that just isn't quite long enough to get the job done. So how do you help the employee? 2 suggestions. The first thing you need to do, see if you can coach them up. Give them some additional training. See if they will buy in to performing at a higher level. The other choice is to switch to a better nail. That may mean reassigning someone and bringing in a better candidate for the position. Basically, you can hammer on that small nail as much as you like, but it won't get the job done. It's just a temporary fix. You gotta think long term. When you build something right, you don't have to fix it all the time. Coming up, we are gonna take you into the world of Love It or Shove It. Stay tuned.
Who says a little whining isn't good for you? We crown the Whiner of the Week every Thursday.
Do you have a problem that's holding you back and you don't know what to do? Then you need a big dose of Love It or Shove It. I'm Ken Okel, and today, consider me Dr. Ken. Let's talk about one of the biggest problems I hear about: procrastination. So what do you do when you have that big project due and you're just never finding the time to get it done? You're waiting for everything to be perfect before you get started. Okay, let's apply the Love It or Shove It philosophy. Either you love what you're doing, which basically means you keep doing it and you stop complaining about it, accept the situation, or you say shove it and decide to make some changes. That's the first step you need to take. So, in your mind, I am assuming you're going to pick shove it. So let's talk about it in terms of procrastination. First thing I want you to do, when you have that big task that needs to get done, don't wait to do it. Don't start with the easy stuff at the beginning of the day. Start with your hardest task first. The easiest stuff, you can polish that off later on. You also don't want to dread that project where you're thinking about it all the time and you just don't feel like you're doing anything. Set some mini goals where you can look through your day and say, okay, from 10 to 11, I want to work on this and get this part of the puzzle done. Don't think of it as one marathon cramming session. No one wants to do that. Bite-sized chunks can help you. Also, our perception of things is often worse than they are. When you have that big project, just take it slow, take a deep breath. Suddenly, it can seem possible. And you'll build your confidence as you're getting more and more of it done. Finally, I want to tell you one thing about procrastination. Get started earlier. How often do we have weeks and months to get something done and yet you're rushing at the last second? This is a choice that you're making, and you got to be willing to live with the consequences. In other words, love it, unless you're willing to change. Make sure that you're protecting your time and protecting your productivity. You do your best work when you're not stressed out, and that will probably happen if you're waiting to the last minute. If you have a question that you would like to submit to Love It or Shove It, send me an email. The email address is tvguy@kenokel.com. So that is all the time we have for now. I hope you've enjoyed this segment, and we will see you very soon.